Hello everyone and welcome to the Animezilia, and today we have yet another brilliant episode of RWBY to talk about. Now then, episode 12, volume 7 was a brilliant episode for a different reason than what we had in last week's episode. As you all know, episode 11 was an amazing episode for the build-up, the intensity, and the hype that Salem brought to it. And obviously the Watts versus Ironwood fight. And this volume keeps getting better with every episode, because episode 11 was, however, a masterful example of both fighting, choreography, and Qrow's bad luck. This video is going to contain big spoilers, so if you haven't watched it yet, make sure you come back after you do. But with all that out of the way, let's talk about it. So first off, we have the team RWBY versus Aesop's fight, and this was actually magnificent in my personal opinion, as the matches were well thought out, and they all helped to basically build up and liven up each of the characters involved. So to start with, you have Weiss versus the Faunus dude. Sorry again, I can't remember his name. As this fight was pretty cool, as it shows off a pretty neat flaw in the Faunus' semblance. As basically, we know he can cause people or things to stop in front of him by saying stay, and basically, he has to be looking directly at what he is trying to stop moving. Hence why if he's looking at multiple targets, he can stop multiple targets. But if he's looking at a target and something comes to the side, he then has to avert his gaze. So it's kind of like, what's his name? It's kind of like Eraserheads from My Hero Academia. If you've ever seen that anime series, you'll kind of know what I'm on about there. But basically, this shows off that flaw. And with Weiss and her summoning method, her summonings being his opponent, that proves to be a bit too much for him. However, it was said that this character, the Faunus dude, isn't actually fighting at full strength. Because Harriet says, come on, take it seriously. And he's like, no, I don't want to kill him, I want to arrest him. And honestly, I was a bit disappointed by that, because I wanted to see him go all out. Maybe he kind of unleashes the wolf inside of him, and like goes mad and mental and crazy. His animal instincts take over. Maybe if he does let loose, he could become stronger than Elm. But speaking of Elm, next we get the Blake and Yang versus Vine and Elm fight. And honestly, I thought this was just a show shoving more Bumblebee down our throats, which I really did not like when I first thought about that. However, after looking at it more closely, it honestly didn't look like that much. And I didn't mind it. So basically, if you look at it from this kind of point of view, you have the characters involved. One being Vine, who is a very calm and strategic thinker. And if you were to look at a character from Team RWBY who kind of reflects that personality and that kind of role within their teams, that would be Blake. So it'd be Vine versus Blake. You have smarts and calmness versus each other, both from RWBY and from Aesop's. Then we've obviously got Elm in this mix, and Elm's strength. We know that she's the big brutey woman with the hammer. And if you reflect the character from RWBY with her, it'll be Yang. Yang's the muscle from Team RWBY. And we have the situation where it's kind of like power and smarts versus power and smarts from both teams. And I like that kind of point of view. Obviously, they're kind of fighting in a confined space, so that the rooms are mostly used up. They kind of use 3 rooms here. They use the hallway, they use the office, and they use kind of like the corridor. So, the team up itself wasn't like that awful. It is also the first time in Volume 7 that we get to see the blazing hair form return. And this somewhat shows that Yang has learned to control it. And she doesn't need to like lose control of her anger to use it, which I thought was pretty good. It shows a little bit of development from her character. And honestly, the way that they used the choreography to help show off the characters and showcase their abilities and skills, I thought really did suit the show very nicely, and it complemented the characters well. So I'm not going to be too critical of it. I just kind of wished they kind of, went about it slightly differently. Next up then, and finally, we have the the Ruby versus Harriet fight, which was the obvious matchup. Like, if you're looking at last week's episode and seeing who you think they were going to fight, it was obvious that Ruby and Harriet were going to go against each other, because it was hinted at the fact that they're both somewhat speedy type people. So, yeah, kind of makes sense. And I kind of liked it, maybe. For me, this was probably the weakest fight out of this episode. But it had the best ending. Because for some reason, seeing Harriet running into a wall of ice, I kind of laughed. However, this fight wasn't really to show who's faster or who's better. This was actually, in my opinion, a showcasing of Harriet's loyalty to Ironwood, and somewhat of a friendship being shown towards Team RWBY and the other Aesop members. Because she's now being forced to attack and arrest the people that she and her co-workers have trained up. They've trained Team RWBY. They've kind of nurtured them and kind of helped them grow with their semblance and their fighting capabilities. And it's kind of like, okay, you are our students. We are your masters. But you're betraying us. So her frustration is kind of warranted and it's kind of justified. Now, maybe that's not the case. Maybe she just wasn't happy with Ironwood's plan, with letting Mantle go. After all, RWBY did say that, aren't you meant to be protecting the people of Mantle? You're just going to sacrifice them and leave them? You're not doing your duties properly. And that might have gotten to her. So that might have been a reason. Who knows? But honestly, I would say that kind of they've built a teacher and student relationship between the Aesops and Team RWBY. And the frustration shown would probably be for that reason. At the end of the day, the Aesops are just doing their job. So, you gotta kind of, take it with a pinch of salt. And will we see the Aesops again after this? Probably not. If we do, it won't be anytime soon. And that is thanks to the ending of this episode. Now then, if you haven't seen the video that I posted about who I think is going to die in Volume 7, I uploaded 5 characters that I think are going to die, and I was correct for one of them. Ding, ding, ding. I'll link it in the description below if you want to go watch that. And that leads me to the next battle. The next battle is Qrow versus Clover. Now, this was an awesome match for 2 characters that opposed each other in terms of semblances, and it was a good showcasing of how Clover fights. Clover using that rod is something we haven't really seen a lot of throughout this volume. We've seen clips and bits and pieces, and it kind of reminds me of the way that Gon from Hunter x Hunter used to fight back in the early episodes of the series, so I thought that was pretty cool. But Qrow, come on, man. You really had to team up with Tyrion, of all people. Was your bad luck running on maximum output? Not only did you team up with a man that you just arrested and tried to kill you in Volume 4, but you allowed him to use your weapon to kill, yes, kill, Clover, a man that you considered your friend, thus allowing Tyrion to escape and frame you. Oh, that was a big part in the episode. And that was kind of a real shock moment, because I didn't actually think it would happen, but the fact that it came from a sleazebag like Tyrion makes it all the more exciting and thrilling to see. I actually really like Tyrion as a character. I like Qrow as a character, and I was starting to like Clover. His personality, he seemed like a down-to-earth kind of chill guy that's just doing his job. And honestly, after this, I guess the bad luck was high. As well as the fact is, I love the fact that before we had this fight, Tyrion crashed a plane and was like, "This is for all for the will of our Queen Overlord," or whatever he said. He basically mentioned Salem and saying how it's for her. So yeah, this guy's absolutely insane. And descending, fantastic. So with Clover dying, and obviously it being done by the hands of Tyrion using Qrow's weapon, what happens to Qrow after this? Because technically Qrow has been framed. Is this the end for Qrow as we know it? And I'm going to say no. Because the damage that Qrow has taken here is not to his reputation or to the respect that he's got from Ironwood. That can be easily fixed by this lady, Robin. Remember, Robin has the ability to sense when someone's lying. If she holds Qrow's hand and says, look, did you kill him? I know it was your weapon, but did you kill him? And Qrow says no, it was Tyrion. She'll say, right, you're telling the truth. And that would pardon him. That would get him off the hook. Not only do I think Qrow is going to be off the hook, but I think he's going to have to repent and do a bit more to kind of redeem his mistake for trusting Tyrion. However, the one thing that kind of stops Robin from helping out Qrow is her ability. And you're like, what? That makes no sense. Listen, hear me out. So what if Robin, basically with her ability, if someone tells a lie, it goes to a different colour. So they're lying, it turns out purple, for example. And if Ironwood knows that, and Qrow is, he does this, and it doesn't come up purple, then Ironwood's like, sure, you're off the hook. But if it's just a case of Robin going, well, I get this feeling, like a tingly feeling, if they're telling me a lie, and I didn't get that tingly feeling, then Ironwood isn't going to trust her. Ironwood already doesn't trust Robin 100%, and Ironwood is already a skeptical person. So, who's he going to trust more? The people that work underneath him, which would be the people that come to collect Clover's body, or Robin Hill? I don't know. That's probably the only downfall it has of relying on Robin to clear Qrow's name. But the main problem, the main issue with Qrow's character is going to be the mental damage that comes after allowing a madman like Tyrion to not only help you, but to have the result end up that he kills your buddy. Because like I said, these two were friends. Clover and Qrow were friends, and because Qrow didn't want to get arrested, he teamed up with Tyrion and thought he could take Tyrion on his own afterwards, and the results were his friend dying. This could have happened to Summer, probably not now after the information we're now told, but, it's a possibility. So, the death scene was actually pretty sad as well. I will admit that. I did find the death scene quite upsetting, especially because the two characters were quite close. So let's move on. We've talked enough about that. Moving on real quick. So, the Winter Penny stuff. They're going to use the pods to transfer the power painlessly, and the whole teaching about Penny setting aside her emotions for the greater good, this bit was kind of lame, not going to lie. We all know that Ironwood is struggling, and that he's not making easy decisions because, this, that, and other, and this whole segment was to teach Penny that your personal feelings sometimes need to come second. And I guess this was meant to help Penny overcome her fear of death again, because we now have a situation where she'll be facing Cinder. And honestly, guys and girls, I'm worried for Penny. But then Penny is saying that the battle between her and Cinder is personal before readying her weapons, so kind of counteracts what Winter was trying to tell her. So maybe that's going to cause her some problems. I don't know. I don't really know if the show was trying to convince itself that it's okay to kill a lot of people and to steal from an old dying lady. But hey, who knows? I found this whole segment with Winter kind of not very that interesting, especially after having a big fight like we did beforehand. It felt kind of almost filler. And talking about filler, let's talk about another bit of filler that was really badly done, in my personal opinion. Oscar and Neo. So Neo takes a relic. However, we don't get to see it because it's off screen. And the smile when we first see Oscar being Neo was like, oh, It's Neo. Great. Like, it had that weird, creepy looking smile. And honestly, whenever I see Neo on screen, I don't see the appeal. Like, I really, really don't. Neo for me isn't a character that I get hyped about seeing. Like, I'm more interested in seeing Cinder do stuff than Neo do stuff. And yeah. Also, this scene basically reminds me that I should never pause when Oscar is on screen. Because just look at that face of Oscar. He's been beaten up, and he's got the relic back now, thankfully. And he just looks like he's so disinterested. He kind of looks like my face when I saw Neo on screen. But hey, if you like Neo, that's great. If you like this scene, fine. But I just thought it was one of the weakest part of the episode overall. So then, overall, I really did like this episode. It was another great episode and probably my third favourite episode of this volume. The music in this episode was a lot better than the music we got last week, and it fitted the fight scene very well. It actually helped make the fight scene more enjoyable and more kind of lively and upbeat, and I just thought it went nicely. Voice acting was great, especially the emotion shown from Qrow's new voice actor. Don't get me wrong, I liked his old voice actor a lot. However, the new voice actor from Qrow doesn't sound that much different, and I think it works, and it did a good job this time. Now then, I want you all watching this video to let me know who you think the next Aesop leader is going to be. Honestly speaking, I think it's Qrow. He has the skills and he has the knowledge, and he can also solo a difficult opponent. Plus, Qrow kind of wants to redeem himself for the mistake of trusting Tyrion. Therefore, he might stay in Atlas, and he might become the new leader of the Aesops. Thus, obviously giving us the kind of contradiction, the yin and yang, between bad luck and good luck, and kind of making it so that, you know, Qrow is repenting for his mistake. If it's not Qrow, then it might be Harriet. Just a biased guess, I think, for that one. Not really any evidence to show that. But honestly, if Qrow doesn't become the new captain of the Aesops, then, you know, his bad luck might get in the way. We'll have to find out next time. However, I'm so stoked to see what's going to happen in episode 13. Let me know what your thoughts about episode 12 down in the comment section below. Did you enjoy it? Have I missed anything? Probably. But we can always discuss that at a later time. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed. If you have, hit the like button. Subscribe if you're new so you never miss a video from me. And until next time, I hope you have an amazing day. I'll be catching you next time. Bye.